Everyone's trashing this region at the moment, Mentor, saying all the games are bad and the level's low and all that. Look, I agree to some degree. But at the same time, one thing I'll say is this. There have been, like, for example, when we get into this one here, like that Fnatic Vitality series, there were some bangers. There's some exciting games. Listen, even when they're bad, like, I mean, Heretics Fnatic, there's some games there where the team that loses can win. Like, as much as, we can flame it. If we're in the bubble of EU, we've got to look at the best players, the best teams and see what they're doing. So I'll tell you where we'll start. Let's just start. Obviously, we watched all the series. Let's start with Team Heretics because, mate, this is a team where on past episodes, I always said I've had to reserve so much sort of like hope for this team because even though they have like what happened, this series was perfect the way it played out. Same with the SK Game series. What they'll do with this team is they'll give you like a game and a half of a series where you're like, they're pretty good, actually. Yeah. You know what? Like, the Zerus have the glow up. Like, sometimes they can team fight even. Like, draft's all right sometimes. They'll get in these games, but what they seem to do is they always betray you in, like, one big game. There's always, like, a game on the fine point there, and they blow it somewhere. What have you thought of this squad? Because I know it's been a bit of a mess with the roster, but like I say, I actually think the thing is, if we're going to accept that everyone except G2 isn't that good, I actually think the pack below them is way closer than people seem to realize. Like, there is a world here where SK could have beaten Heretics, but maybe Heretics could have beaten Fnatic, and then Vitality could have been, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's so many sort of this peaks bit. So what have you thought of Heretics?
No, I mean, Heretics, honestly, to me, I just think they're a team that lacks a lot of firepower. Even changing, like, Perkz, I don't think he necessarily played that bad. I think Perkz, like, last year, we have a lot of, like, criticism, which was valid. He had a, like, pretty bad year overall.
Yes.
But this year, I think he was actually performing quite well, and it looked like he was actually back in his form. They had, like, a lot of good wins in the early season, but going back to winter. And then the whole off-season drama happened, where he gets benched and they bring in Zvyro. But to me, I think Zvyro has been like a really pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Like if we watch the Team Heretics versus Fnatic series, that guy was like the only guy actually performing and looking like he wants to win. And he's taking responsibility in the games as well. He's not one of those, you know, we see this a lot with like rookies coming in and they're like, oh shit, I don't want to die. I don't want to look bad. So I'm just going to farm. No, this guy is...
He's gone in on some of the Azir shuffles, hasn't he? He's gone like fully in. Yeah, I agree.
But just to check, can I swear on the...
Yes, of course. I'm going to do it loads, don't worry.
Yeah, okay, perfect. But he's just fucking carrying, like, absolutely. Like, everyone else is just... I hate these rookies when they come in. I think we saw it, like, last year. I don't want to shit talk too many pro players, right?
Sure.
But we see, like, when Blue was in SK or when these kind of rookies, when they come in, the only objective they have is almost like, I'm going to try to look as good as possible so I can get an offer for next year.
Yes.
But when Zvyro comes in, he's a rookie, right? But I think he's been ready for, like, maybe the past 2 years. And he's coming in and he's actually looking hella good. Like in the series in Team Heretics versus Fnatic, he was like this shining light of Team Heretics. And honestly, like the first game when I look at Fnatic, and one thing I will say like regarding how much hate there is towards the EU region, which I think is fair, but let's be fair as well, because we watched like Damwon versus Gen G, 5-game series where we have like Pace flashing in, like ulting in with Kai'Sa, then he flashes out like perfectly, Rakan, and Cannon comes in and does like a perfect kick. And then you go like to Team Heretics versus Fnatic.
Of course.
Like Razork does a level 3 gank mid, dies under turret. And then like Wunder has Bami, Cinder goes under turret and dies. And then after that they like contest Herald and then they just die as well. And it's just like the level, if we didn't watch, like let's say we didn't watch the LCK, we would be like, oh, LCK is looking good actually.
Yeah.
It's normal mistakes, like that's all good. But the mistakes that are happening in the LEC are just so basic. It's like things that we discovered 5 years ago. You know, like, let's not take a number disadvantage fight.
Yes.
Let's not fight when we're behind an item.
We're out
like,
the package, all that shit.
Item.
Yeah, of course, everything, yes.
Super simple stuff. And that's why the hate is, like, really coming. I think it is a bandwagon, of course. Like, people want to farm likes on Twitter. And, of course, like, it's famous to hate on EU, so everyone's going to do it. But I had given up on hope, like, on the LEC actually contesting internationally until I saw the G2 series. But I'll stick on the Team Heretics and Fnatic for now. But in that series, like, Fnatic as a team... they have no idea how to lose a game slowly. And this is a trend I keep seeing with them. Because even in the Team Heretics series, like Razork does that really into gank on mid, he dies, right? But they actually recover quite nicely. And Razork finds like really good angles on bot lane afterwards, and they actually come back in their game. The game state is even. And then you see Oscarini like go for a proxy when he knows that Jarvan is topside and he just gives a kill, and it's like, what is happening? And even though like Humanoid was able to actually get ahead and get some free kills. He had a 700 goal shutdown, which he gave to Zvyro afterwards.
Oh, sure.
The game state is fine. It's like, it's even. It's like, it's okay, guys. We can still win. And then they're like, you know what? We have to double down and go.
They always force it, don't they? You know what I get the vibe about is this. the story goes, like everyone knows that G2 wins all the scrims as well as all the official games, right? Everyone else thinks Fnatic should be the obvious contender, right? But dude, I get the feeling, no joke, like now they almost like play just like it's a scrim in the LEC game. Like this is what you do in a scrim. You just go like, fuck it, just keep going. Because you can go next always, can't you? But because if you think about it, right, the problem Fnatic has, without going too far from the Heretics thing, because we're talking directly in this series here, is, mate, this is why all these series are always close. On the last episode, I actually said about Fnatic, my real fear is this. I do think they're probably the only team that can beat G2, but I don't know if they're going to get there. Like, I even did predict, I thought they're going to get wrecked by BDS, mate. I think just tactically, that's the perfect team to sort of wait and catch the throw, if you know what I mean. Anyway, back on the Heretics thing, though.
Yeah.
I would just say this. I definitely agree on the Zviru one. I actually thought in the split, this is why narratives on Reddit are so powerful. In the split, everyone was doing that thing where it's like, he's way better than Perkz. It's like, is he? Like in the split, it looked like actually he was doing more like you were saying, like a rookie. His job almost was like, don't die. In other words, don't be Perkz and then don't get the blame. And then what happened was, that allowed the team to look pretty decent. Like they had some all right macro late in the game. They could fight sometimes. Obviously, they have the players to do that. The problem is, in the playoffs, he has had the globe. Like, even when people are going to say, yeah, but most of the games are on Azir. Mate, I'm watching Nuclear Int, who's been in the LEC years now, play Azir every game, and he isn't doing this stuff. He's playing way more concerned. He's not doing... I agree with you, mate. That's the other thing. You could play Azir or a mage and be a pussy and just fucking hide and use it to get out and always just dodge it. He's doing those sick moves. Like, look, he isn't Chovy, but he does, like, he tries his own version. He'll go, like, right in the back of the fight with the fucking... I love that when people do that. And for a rookie, I agree with you. You can tell, for real, this guy was waiting, but he was waiting the way a pro should. Wait for your chance. And when they give you your chance, mate, forget all that shit of like secure your salary. Just go for it. It's the playoffs, mate. Just go for it. And I have to say, I agree with you. He's one of the main reasons they could really have been like fourth or third. Like, who knows? But they could have been much further in the playoffs for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think so too. I mean, Team Heretics had a lot of like potential, I would say. But if you look back at it, like even versus the SK series, it wasn't a clean series. It was like Niski actually ulting into the... I think that was the famous Corky, you know.
Almost every game like, he was dying first blood or something, mate. It was crazy,
And it wasn't like Team Heretics were like outsmarting them, playing better. Like, no, I mean, SK were just inting. And that's another story about SK, but they're out of playoffs, so no one cares right now.
Sure.
But Team Heretics, like when Jankos is actually on his form and he looks good, then the team looks good. And Zviru is doing his job and he's actually playing really well. I even thought like Wonder was actually having quite a good split. I think most of his like he seemed like he was coming back to his old form. I wouldn't say like his full old form, but he was looking good. But the issue I have with them as well is this like lack of firepower. I think like Flakked, right? You think about him. I see him on like 5-0 Zeri. I'm not thinking like, oh, this guy is gonna completely take over the game. He's gonna like flash in 1v3 quadra kill like Noah does, you know, when he's playing Zeri. I think like, oh, Flakked 5-0. That's nice. He's gonna be stable. He's gonna be good, which is not bad. But it's like the lack of that firepower, of that like being able to team fight, out to maneuver your opponents. That's just what they seem to be lacking. And I also don't want to see like, I mean, Trimby on Renato did not also look that good. I think he's much better on like some engaged champion. I think they really need that. But going back to it, I think Jankos had a very underwhelming series versus Fnatic and was kind of one of the key series why they weren't able to actually win versus them. I think like first game he was doing fine, even though Razork was like the one actually running it down, even from the level 3 like on mid. But Jankos wasn't even shining in that way. And the second game was like what really hits me when I see Jankos play like Maokai. He's going like blue, wolves, red buff, and he's just like 2 levels down or like a level down on Razork the entire game. And Razork just finding these like angles the entire game. And then, I mean, if we can go also to game 3, then I think it was just a complete jungle diff where Razork does first the bot lane gank, like lane gank successfully. And then he goes top and dives Wonder in front of Jankos when he's at Krugs. And it's just, I don't know if this is a trend, but everyone who plays against Razork, they just look completely garbage. And I don't know if it's like Razork is one of the best junglers for sure. He might even be the best jungler that we have in the region right now. But yeah, ultimately, I think it comes down to those two things when it comes to Team Heretics and the lack of firepower and then being out jungled kind of.
Yeah, I would say on that one, that's one of those ones where you think to yourself, it's Jankos, mate. He's fucking covered lanes against the best junglers of all time and beaten them even sometimes. But I get the vibe for real. There's another guess I'm going to make as someone who's known the pro scene. That also looks to me like Fnatic's just shit on Heretics in a million scrims too. And then he's just been, Razork's just done the demon mode where you just from minute 1 just wreck the other guy's jungle and take every guy. And it makes it look like Jankos just went in the game thinking that like, essentially like I can't just play as myself. Because, I thought he was I agree. Actually, if anything, if you could have told Jankos how Razork was actually going to play, I feel like he'd have just played a way more controlled game, taking less chances, and they'd have caught the throw. But he almost played like he was desperate. Like he actually had to do this like weird shit. And then I definitely agree on the firepower one. It's an obvious point at this point in time, but the gamble I made when I thought this team could be good when they announced the roster at the beginning of the year was the gamble. It is what he's told us all in interviews, guys, which is that Wunder only was weak side in all those years because he had the bot lane, didn't he? He either had like fucking Reckless or Perkz and Mickey X, or he had Upset. If you have these players, you probably should weak side. Actually, you're one of the best hybrid top lanes we've ever had. The problem is we were supposed to believe on this team when Flackett arrives, by the way, probably the best guy to be the weak side ADC and just be that go even bot lane. It's supposed to be your time, Wunder. You're supposed to be like all pro LEC. He didn't do that. Like he had good games, I agree with you, but the key thing is he has good games on stuff like a K'Sante, you know what I mean? He's not playing like the super carry top. He's not going to be the Jace player. Dominant. And so I agree with you. When you don't do that, Flackhead, like you say, definitely. If you watch the LPL, the LCK guys, the second I see like Jackie Love on 2 kills or like up a Viper on like a 3 kill Zeri, I'm like, right, get the popcorn out, mate. Even if they lose this one, he's going fucking hammer. He's like Neo in the Matrix now. He can do anything in this game. I agree. If Flackhead gets the kills, you're like, oh, cool. He's actually ahead this game.
That's great.
Yeah, but I agree. Once you get to the team fight,
like,
you're actually putting all the pressure on this Viru guy as well. He basically has to carry the team fight at that point in time, right?
Yeah, I mean, he has to be the one to step up. And he actually did it. I mean, in the game 2, he was also having a great game. He was like 7-1 on Azir. But unfortunately, the rest of the team was just kind of gapped, honestly. Like, only Zvyro was the only hope of the team. And then, of course, like, he is playing extremely aggressive. He still makes the mistakes in teamfights where he's like getting caught off guard or getting hit by like a CC where he shouldn't be. But overall, like, I really like the mindset, and it's really refreshing to see someone try to take some risk and try to actually carry games and not just sit back like we see with other rookies and just try to like hope that things will go well. You know, I have Wunder, I have Jankos. I don't need to do anything. Let me just lift off my hands and see what happens. But it's refreshing. I think it gives a lot of hope for, I mean, I wouldn't say like the full ERL system, but at least for Zvyro, I think that was a good split from him showing. And in the playoffs, we really saw him like pop off. And he shouldn't even be the one that actually pops off.
No, of course
like, it's not his responsibility. He shouldn't be the one that like shines. It should be the rest of the team, but he was the one shining. So.
I'll even add this in. I give him extra props, mate, because he's starting in Spring Split. Like, even other rookies had the Winter Split to sort of charge up and get going. He has to just come in immediately, perform. If he didn't, by the way, they've got Perkz on the bench. Maybe they bring him back. Like, the pressure's big if you're this guy, but I think he's lived up to it. I agree. And I also do think, whether or not he's on this team next year, I'm pretty sure another team takes a gamble on him. If I'm like an XL or something, why wouldn't I potentially consider this guy as talent? And then I'd also say, we haven't mentioned it except for the champion pool there, but obviously, this is one of those series, by the way, where don't even bother opening the Reddit thread. It's just a bandwagon of like 500 comments about Trimby on Alistair, and that's all they say, bro. They don't even they don't analyze what he did. Like, first of all, guys, Alistair, by definition, you're just going in, and if it's not the right angle, you're getting fucked. Like, it's not like you have like a dash to get out after that. You've gone in, like, and also, look, I do think actually he did in that Alistair game, obviously, but it wasn't only him. I'm with you. Jankos wasn't playing well. By the way, jungle fucking support is the synergy guys. Also, mate, Flackhead there was one moment in the series where he just walked me like just to get wrecked. Like, what? It's not like Trimby mind controlled me to do that. So I agree, Trimby definitely had a bad one there. But my issue here is this. If he wasn't added to this team, they're not even at this point. Like, this team was pretty bad. I think them adding him did open up things like his champion pool, changes what you can do with the draft. I do think it changed the bot lane dynamic. Definitely, if taking out Perkz, you have to add shot calling, guys. Like, you might not think Perkz is good with your eye test. This guy's one of the best shot callers ever. Like, he definitely knows what he wants to do, what to call to make. Whereas actually, if people don't know, if you've ever heard the comms, the Jankos style of shot calling is more like the question. It's like, can we do this? Like, should I come here now? It's like, that's not the same as being the guy of like, we're doing this, or like group now, like let's fight now. Yes, and re-engage, you know. So I can essentially, I'll take the odd Trimby int game because that wasn't what made them not make top 4 this tournament, guys. Like, there was other things before. I mean, they could have won these series clean if they wanted. I agree with you. The other problem if you're Heretics is, even though we're saying you could have done all this, in a way, you sort of deserve to lose here, though, because, like I said, you could have lost SK too. Like, you just played so messy the whole time. It's just, the sad thing is, even though there are positives to take, I just actually feel like, I want to ask you this. Bearing in mind, now we've got the MSI break, And in theory, it's hard because it costs money, but in theory, you could still make one roster move if you're this team. You could bring someone in. The tricky thing is, though, mate, I feel like, even though I agree, I would just make, listen, it's going to be a hard cut. Whoever you cut, you have to cut someone and gamble on some talent, probably an ERL talent, but you have to hope you get a carry. The problem is, who the fuck do you cut, though? That's the hard part now, right? Who would you cut?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I don't think there are many potential, like, players that you could take that would actually upgrade the roster. Like, who do you actually replace? Are you going to replace Wonder? I mean, not really. Who other top laners are there? As Zyra was already doing good, I think you keep that guy. Yeah. And then if you want to look at like AD carry replacements, I mean, I don't even know if there's any like decent AD carry that's a free agent.
Yeah, the problem is it's also free agent. Like if anyone's going to go, just get like crown shots. Like that's not going to be free. BDS isn't just going to give him you for free. So it'd have to be someone like. Is Neon even play? You know what I mean? It'd have to be someone like that, wouldn't it? And they're usually on ERL teams, you know.
But do you really want to have like Crown Shot in that team if you think about it? Like you have Trimby already being a leader shot caller, you have Crown Shot also being known for being a shot caller, and then we have Jankos, and then you have Wonder. Like,
sure.
I think that's just going to be a complete fiesta.
Yes.
Like, they need someone like just silent who shuts is quiet and just performs. Like you use your hands and we'll take care of the rest because they have smart players. They're able to play the game. And going back on like Trimby, yes, okay, his Alistar game, people are just looking at his last moment, which was when he W'd the Zac into his team. And then they're like, holy shit, this guy is so boosted. But it's like, guys, he actually like got them all this way. Like, did you see how Heretics were playing last split? Like, did you see how much he did the entire split? But that's the thing about esports. It's like, people will only remember your last possible moment. And then they will make the entire like painting.
They rewrite the back, so it was always like that. History becomes whatever the last moment was, isn't it?
So it'd be like, oh, should we sign Trimby? No, but didn't he W Alistar? Like, didn't he W the Zac into his team? No, that guy's terrible. And then they just move on. Like, we don't sign this guy. But it's like, no, that guy's really fucking great, and he's done a shit ton for his team. So yeah, I still think he's a great player.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or be a pleb and don't.